we used to have a really big problem getting distributed denial of service attacks on our website trying to take us down. So
that's a pretty serious leap from a game to, denial of service attacks on your forums.
Well, when a large part of the game takes place in these third-party communications, this is the kind of thing that's going to happen because people always want to get ahead. And we're not the only people playing this game, not by any means. But I'm not saying that we do this sort of stuff to other people's websites. I'm just saying this is something that happened to us a few times.
That's a concern that you have for your own people and your own site.
What?
That you're saying that it's not something that you do to other people, but rather that it's something that you have to worry about with your own site, that other people do it to you.
Oh, yeah, we have to protect ourselves. But the thing is, not everybody has to follow U.S. law. I do because I live in the United States, so there's a lot of things that I can't do. Sorry if the airplane noise is messing it up.
That's okay.
There's a lot of people that live in, like, Russia and Indonesia, and they can just do whatever the hell they want, and their country really doesn't care about it. So you'll see this sort of stuff happen.
So, obviously, Pandemic Legion's very focused on the game itself, but is having a strong out-of-game backbone, your forums, your voice support, and perhaps interest in other games, is that vital to forming a large, successful group?
I think the sense of community is extremely important for keeping an alliance together in EVE. The third-party communications and the other games sort of community, that is part of it. And we have really good communications infrastructure for a spaceship alliance. So, sorry. So that helps too. But ultimately, it's just all about keeping people engaged and interested. And if we can offer interesting stuff that's even outside of EVE, if they're bored of EVE, then Pandemic Legion can exist and transcend EVE.
So, when you've been talking about looking at other alliances and how they might have collapsed and mistakes they might have made, that also gives you an insight into the actual game itself, into the construction of the game, the way that the game can be changed to evolve into a better game. Now, I know that you've been a part of the CSM. Do you feel that that's helped you to put forward strong suggestions through the CSM?
Yeah, I've put forward a bunch of suggestions with the CSM, but not all of them are about metagaming. I don't know. Ask me something specific.
Well, even not just in metagaming, but also, say, questions of soft warfare, mechanics of ship design, that kind of thing.
Oh, well, it's not really relevant to spying on alliances. Usually when alliances fall apart, it's not because of game mechanics. It's pretty much always because of morale and people losing interest in being a part of this group. And that's why alliances fall apart. I don't think it has anything to do with the CSM, really.
Okay. Now, looking at the idea of metagaming in EVE, it's fairly obvious that CCP didn't deliberately design the game from the beginning to have such a rich metagaming side. And by metagaming, I mean applying real-world knowledge to the game to get more information on how to play it successfully. Do you think that that's been a positive thing for CCP, that it has metagaming?
I think the whole metagaming thing is just another layer of intrigue and interesting stuff in the game. So on that level, keeping people engaged, then I think that's a big positive for developers. There are definitely negative sides to it, but I think the positive outweighs it, because I see people say every once in a while how they're so amazed that EVE is this game with all this sort of stuff that other games don't have. Metagaming is one of these things. In other games, all this like forum hacking and stuff, all it is to steal accounts. But in EVE, people do it to steal spaceship secrets and use it to win a POS war or something like that. And that's not something you see in other games.
Do you ever have any problems where that metagaming might, as you see it, infringe on the idea of real-world security and privacy?
Yeah, there is actually a couple of, like, I was telling CCP about this, about how pretty much everybody that runs these third-party communications, they should not be allowed to run them. People don't know how to secure their websites, things like that. I was actually suggesting to them that maybe CCP should host some kind of court forums or something to give people an option, because, I mean, I don't know. That was just a suggestion. I didn't think about it a whole lot, but I'm kind of rambling and I don't really remember what my original point was going to be. Sorry.
Well, no, that's very telling, and that brings me back to another interview I had where I was talking to a person from IT Alliance who provided support for security issues within IT Alliance. And I asked him if he had ever felt that CCP provided players with a solid idea of what acceptable metagaming is and what isn't acceptable.
Well, CCP can't say anything about that because they can't govern systems that aren't owned by them. There's no way they can enforce anything they say.
Even by definition?
Well, once it gets to the point where you're stealing accounts and logging into people's characters, then they can take action. But the problem is that in order for them to do anything about it, they need to be able to look at the logs and analyze the system and be able to trust that everything is telling the truth. But when you have to deal with hundreds and hundreds of websites that are privately owned, it's just not a fight worth fighting for them.
So perhaps ultimately it comes down to the choices of individuals and groups who have access to information that could be misused.
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't see any really easy way of fixing this problem, because I think personally that this sort of stuff is a massive security hole. There's hundreds of alliances and corporations that have set up their own forums, and people just type in their password into it, and they don't really know how to secure their sites or anything like that. So it's just kind of out there for anybody to take, if they just can figure out how. And I don't see any very good solution for fixing that.
Okay.
They're all doomed.
It's funny because I thought you might kind of, you've actually outlined how difficult the solution might be, or even thinking about the solution might be for the game. And I don't think we've really even touched much on actually playing the game, but more about the security issues within the game.
Yeah, that's because it's more interesting than the game.
Do you think
yeah.
that, it seems to be a common thread with a lot of different people that I talk to, that they say, look, I've gotten a bit sick of the game, but if it wasn't for all this other stuff, I would have lost interest in it by now.
Yeah, that's part of the whole thing. EVE, the game, is very complex, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to keep you engaged, but there's like this huge outside of the game thing that has been built on top of it. Every individual community, just the whole concept of metagaming, API key applications, forums, video sites, EVE files, things like that. I mean, it's just massive, and I don't know if other games do this. I don't actually play that many other MMOs right now, but it just seems kind of amazing to me that this sort of stuff is built up around a game.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me on behalf of the Kugutsumen forums, and I actually think that we might have a lot more material to talk about in the future. For example, I haven't even touched on your friendship with Kugutsumen, and I haven't really talked too much about Pandemic Legion's history, or the current events that are occurring around Pandemic Legion. But I'd like to thank you again for talking to me.
Okay, you're welcome. You can just message me whenever you want to do another question thing.